President Biden spoke to the nation and said a Russian attack in Ukraine remains a very real possibility.
What will Putin decide to do next, and what does it mean for us? Yoshiko Herrera is a professor of political science at UW-Madison, also an expert on Russia and Eastern Europe. Welcome to Live at 4.
Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Give us a little historical background. This conflict has been going on for quite some time.
Well, the current conflict, let's say, started this year with the Russian amassing of troops, but it goes back, I guess the next step back would be going back to 2014 when Russia invaded Crimea. And that started a war in eastern Ukraine, which continues. But taking one further step back from that was the issue of the Soviet Union breaking up and the expansion of NATO, which happened in the 90s and in the 2000s. And that's something that Russia is claiming is a precipitating cause of this current crisis.
Why does Russia and President Putin want Ukraine?
Well, that is a good question. And I think there's maybe two important pieces. One, Russia wants to show that it has a say in European security. And so in that sense, Ukraine per se isn't important. It's just a matter of showing that Russia can bully NATO or tell NATO who and who cannot be part of the alliance. But Ukraine is a special case because Ukraine has had two successful social revolutions, kicking out pro-Russian presidents, and Putin is very, very scared of a social revolution within Russia. So Ukraine is particularly salient because they don't like the example of successful revolution or overthrowing pro-Russian dictators. And there's also a historical connection between Russia and Ukraine that makes Russia particularly care about events in Ukraine.
Russia says it's pulling some troops back. The U.S. says they don't believe it. What do you think the final outcome of this may be?
I still think an invasion of Ukraine, a full invasion, is extremely unlikely because I think everybody in Russia knows that would be a disaster and that they would face resistance, in every household in Ukraine. So I think they haven't been able to successfully end even the limited war that they're supporting in the East. And so they have to know a full-scale invasion would meet a lot of resistance. So while I think that's not very likely, some kind of action in the East, in the Donbass, I think is still a serious threat. But there have been mixed signals from Russia for some time now. The recent comments saying they need to still pursue diplomacy and the comments on state TV in Russia by the defense minister saying that their so-called military exercises are coming to a close had given people hope that de-escalation was starting. But there hasn't been any direct evidence of the movement of troops back away from the border yet.
Well, what do Americans need to be prepared for? What are the possible economic consequences here at home?
I think the most likely and immediate consequence would be a rise in gas prices. We've already seen that if there's a big disruption due to sanctions, that's going to cause Russia exports a lot of gas and oil, a third of the gas and oil to Europe. So if there was any kind of disruption of that would cause energy prices to rise. But energy prices might rise based on speculation of potential problems without an actual invasion happening or without an actual cutoff of supplies. So I think that's one of the things. But there are also the same kind of, or not same, but similar but different sort of supply chain issues that may come into play related to manufacturing and certain metals that Russia exports, like titanium, palladium, et cetera. So there could be certain kinds of things that are limited or prices go up. But that really depends on the companies in the U.S., what kind of supplies they already have, if they have alternatives, et cetera.
Well, as of right now, it's just a wait-and-see situation when the world holds its breath to see what happens next. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you. Thank you so much.